What's up, nerds? Welcome back to Guys That Magic. I'm going to be your host, Shane, and today I'm with Steven. Say what up, dude.
Hello.
We're going to be going over your $100 upgrade for the deck that just came out, Deep Clue Sea. It came out during Murders of Karlov Manor, and you had the pleasure of upgrading this, Steven. So before we jump into the ads, do you want to talk about the Face Commander and kind of what the deck wants to do?
Yeah, so the deck loves clues, loves to draw cards, and it is pretty interesting actually. But the face commander is Morska, Undersea Sleuth. It is a green, a white, and a blue for a 2/3 legendary creature, Vidalcan Fish Detective. I love 3-cost creatures, and this one has the upside that says you don't have a maximum hand size, because there's a ton of card draw in this deck. It also says at the beginning of your upkeep, investigate, which is always going to be good. And then whenever you draw your second card each turn, put 2+1/+1 counters on Morska. So almost like a little Voltron-y too, which is pretty interesting.
Right on, man. So you're going to be drawing a bunch of cards, having no maximum hand size, and investigating, which will probably draw you more cards.
Oh yeah. Plus we're going to do a lot of fun stuff with those artifact tokens.
Sounds fantastic. And it's kind of weird that it was a fish detective and not a merfolk, but hey, Vidalcan, we like you too. Before we jump into your edition, Stephen, just a quick reminder for anyone that is not subscribed, if you like this content, you don't want to miss out on any upcoming content, hit the subscribe button. All right, man, let's see what you got for this deck.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and start off with 3 creatures, just kind of like utility creatures for the deck, just trying to help us get some stuff going. So first card I want to talk about is going to be Noble Hierarch. It is 1 green for a 0/1 human druid creature. It has Exalted. If you don't know what Exalted does, whenever a creature you control attacks alone, that creature gets +1/+1 until end of turn. This also taps for any one of our colors. Just a really fun little mana dork. This deck is a little mana intensive, and since it basically wants us to kind of crack clues every once in a while, draw those cards, having a little some extra mana is not going to hurt us at all.
Yeah, fantastic mana dork. That also gives you that beautiful exalted on your creature. Love it.
And then also I went ahead and added Jaheira, Friend of the Forest. This is 2 and a green for a human elf druid legendary creature. It's a 2/3. It also says tokens you control have tap, add a green. Choose a background, kind of flavor text there for us in this deck, obviously. But since we're making so many artifact clue tokens, just being able to use those to tap to add a green is going to be super helpful to make sure that whatever we want to put on the field is going to hit the field.
Yeah, dude, I love that. That's just like a kind of a little bit of a ramp, dude.
Mm-hmm. And the last of these 3 I wanted to talk about is going to be Kellen Inquisitive Prodigy. This is 2, a green and a blue for a 3/4 human fairy detective. It's a fun little adventure card. So the sorcery side is going to be a green and a blue. It's Tail the Suspect. It says investigate. You may play an additional land this turn. It's always good. Always playing extra lands. You gotta love that. And then Kellen's side obviously says flying, vigilance, and then whenever it attacks, destroy up to 1 target artifact. If you controlled that permanent, draw a card. So kind of nutty here.
Dude, kinda. This card is super nutty. Blows up your opponent's rocks, and if you want to blow up your own little clue, that way you don't have to pay when you draw a card. Like, this is really good, dude.
Yeah, this card definitely gets around, paying that, 2 costs to crack a clue. It also helps if, this comes into the battlefield. If I get a turn to swing with it, if you got an artifact on your side of the board that I'm not a fan of, it's probably going to go away.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this card, man, and I think it fits perfectly into your deck. Any more creatures you want to talk about?
Yeah, I do have 4 more creatures. One I kind of want to just talk about on its own because it's a little bit of a weird card. So I'm throwing in Min Willy Illusionist. This is 1, 2 blue for a 1/3 gnome wizard. It says whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue illusion creature token. With this creature gets +1/+0 for each other illusion you control. And then when that illusion dies, you may put a permanent card with mana value less than or equal to that creature's power from your hand onto the battlefield. So, not really into the clue making artifacts, but this is a really fun card. Since we're drawing so many cards in this deck, just being able to create those 1/1 blue illusion creature tokens and then just pumping them up and hopefully having a whole bunch of them, because there is a little bit of a clone strategy in this deck too. Just being able to hopefully swing or even block a little bit of a defensive creature too, and just putting a permanent from my hand onto the battlefield basically for free, pretty good.
Yeah, wow. Okay. Free spells are never bad. I think that's what I would say.
Yeah, I think that, that's something that we've been saying for a while now, and it never gets old.
But this is great because the theme of your deck is drawing second cards, and this does something nutty when you draw your second card. Love it.
Yep. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the last three creatures. I'm going to go ahead and start with the big boy here, Mondrak Glory Dominus. This is 2 and 2 white. For a Phyrexian Horror, it's a 4/4. If one or more tokens would be created under your control, twice that many of those tokens are created instead. You can also pay 1 and 2 Phyrexian whites, sacrifice 2 other artifacts and or creatures, put an indestructible counter on Mondrak Glory Dominus. Here's a fun thing about this card. I can sacrifice 2 artifacts to make it indestructible. I don't know if you know this, Shane. I'm making a lot of artifacts.
You know, I put two and two together. This card's nuts for you, dude. Like, yes, this card is exactly what your deck wants to be doing. You're gonna be making those
100%.
clues, and the clues, like you said, can protect this card. And so it's like, oh, I got removal. Oh, just kidding.
Yeah, this deck is basically making a ton of tokens, whether that's creature tokens or those artifact tokens. With Min, the card I just talked about, making those extra illusions, it's gonna be insane. And you could not have this deck without including this card.
Yeah, Anointed Procession on a stick's always good.
Next up, we have Old Faithful here, Urza Lord Hierarchificer. It has been reprinted into the ground, which is insane. It's such an easy pickup now. This is 2 and 2 blue for a human artificer. It's a 1/4. When he enters the battlefield, you create a 0/0 colorless construct artifact creature token. With this creature gets +1/+1 for each artifact you control. And you can tap an untapped artifact you control and add a blue. And then the fun one, you can pay 5, shuffle your library, then exile the top card. Until the end of that turn, you may play that card without paying its mana cost.
There's a lot going on with this card for your deck, dude.
Yes, I mean,
Jeez.
every single mode on this card is built for my deck.
I would say so. It's got a little bit of a ramp thing going on, like that Jaheira. All your things now can tap for some colors. This card's awesome, dude.
Yep, and I can only hope that I'll be in Magical Christmas Land. I'll have them both out, and I'll just have all the mana in the world, and you guys won't have any removal in hand, right?
Man, I hate Magical Christmas Land.
And obviously, every deck needs one good little finisher, if not more. But this one is going to be Cyberdrive Awakener. This is 5 and a blue for an artifact creature construct. It's a 4/4. It's got flying, and it says other artifact creatures you control have flying as well. But the big kicker here is going to be when it enters the battlefield until end of turn, each non-creature artifact you control becomes an artifact creature with base power and toughness 4/4.
That's dumb.
You see where I'm going with this?
I completely see where you're going with this, and it's not looking good for me.
No, I'm hoping. I've always wanted to put this card down and really ruin someone's day, and I hope that happens.
Yeah, you said finisher, man, and this is a finisher and something that's gonna be making a ton of clues. Now all your clues are gonna beat me in the face for 4 each. Yeah, and they got flying. This is a great card.
Come on, Shane. You know I'm going to attack Hunter first.
That's true. All right, well, we saw some beasts of some creatures. Talk to me about some maybe sorceries.
Yep. So for the sorceries, I did add 3 of them. Like I said, this deck is pretty mana intensive, especially with wanting to crack clues and some bigger creatures. I did add 3 cards to go find me some mana. So first up, we'll talk about Cultivate, 2 and a green, Commander Classic. Search your library for up to 2 basic land cards, reveal those cards, put one of them onto the battlefield tapped, and the other into your hand. Then you get to shuffle. I also have Farseek, 1 and a green. Search your library for a plains, island, or swamp. Search your library for a plains, island, swamp, or mountain card. Put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle. And 3 visits. Also 1 and a green. Search your library for a forest card. Put it on the battlefield, then shuffle. 3 Commander Classics had to go in the deck.
Yep, straightforward. Go get some mana, put it on the field. Seems good, dude. All right, man. How about some instants?
Yep, so first one I have here is going to be Officious Interrogation. This is a white and a blue. It says this spell costs 1 white and 1 blue more to cast for each target beyond the first. It says choose any number of target players. Investigate X times, where X is the total number of creatures those players control. Yeah, so at most, Shane, this card can cost 8, whether that's 4 white and 4 blue. Obviously, if you want to target yourself, 4 players. But yeah, you can make a ton of investigate little clue tokens. And the last instant I threw in this is going to be Path to Exile. There's already a Swords to the Plowshares in the deck, but I'll tell you what, removal is removal. So this is 1 white. You can exile target creature. Its controller may search the library for a basic land card, put that card on the battlefield tap, then shuffle.
Yes, sir. Exile it. Get a land. Love it. All right, you're an artifact deck. Talking about some artifacts.
Yeah, Shane, so I did go ahead and throw two artifacts into this deck. The first one from the Doctor Who set. It's almost as if this card was made for me. This is 500 Year Diary. This is 3 and a blue. It does come into the battlefield tapped, which is a little unfortunate, but if it gets to my turn, I can add 1 blue mana for each clue I control. I can also pay 2, sacrifice it, and draw a card.
Yeah, that's kind of nutty for a clue deck, dude. Tap this for like a casual 6. That'd be so funny, dude.
Yeah, I mean this card, it's pretty cheap, which is shocking, but it does come into the battlefield tap, which is why I understand. I do also love the fact that if somebody tries to remove this card, it does have some safety features where you can pay to sack it. You don't have to tap it, which is really good, and then you can draw a card. So it does have a little bit of a backup. Now, granted, do I want to pay 6 mana to draw a card? No, but hopefully, you guys are nice and you don't blow it up.
Of course.
The one you really should blow up, though, is going to be Tamio's Journal. This is going to be 5 mana. This is a legendary artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, investigate. Hey, we love doing that. You can also tap it, sacrifice 3 clues, search your library for a card, and put that card into your hand. Then shuffle. I don't even got to reveal it.
What do you mean? A tutor? You're in a tutor, Steven? Oh, no.
I mean, it's not even. I'm going to constantly tutor. Like the amount of
God,
clues
that's
this deck
annoying.
is pumping out, man. Like this card to me was just an automatic include. It is a little pricey at 5 mana, but the fact that it does let us investigate at the beginning of our upkeep each turn. So hopefully not only are we, investigating with this card, but Morska is going to be investigating for us. There's tons of other cards. I'm making a ton of clues. I get to tap this, sacrifice some clues, and just search for whatever I need and just end the game.
Yeah, I feel that's going to be very annoying. Like, oh, what is the perfect card for the situation? I'll go get it. All right, and then lastly, have you touched the lands at all, Steven?
First land we'll talk about is going to be Hengegate Pathway. You can either have this come in on the white side or the blue side. And then I did add the 3 bond lands, Bountiful Promenade, Rejuvenating Springs, and Sea of Clouds. They all come in tapped unless you have 2 or more opponents. Obviously, we're playing Commander, the most glorious of formats. So normally these will come in untapped. Bountiful Promenade will tap for a green or a white, Rejuvenating Springs for a blue or a green, and Sea of Clouds for a white or a blue.
God, I love the bond lands, man. If you got them, throw them in there. All right, and is that it? Is that all your ads for your 100?
Those are all of my ads for my 100.
Beautiful. I'm kind of scared to play against your deck, bed. But we're at the point now where you had all the whole cards you added. We're going to have to go through some cards to cut to make room for these cards. So why don't you walk us through some of the cards you're cutting?
Yeah, so let's go ahead and start with some removals. We'll go into the creatures. First one I got rid of is going to be Graph Mole. This is 2 and a green. Whenever you sacrifice a clue, you gain 3 life. Really fun effect. I love the fact that it's a 3 cost and a 2/4, but it's not doing what I need it to do, so I kind of got rid of this card. Next up, I got rid of a card that I'm sure a lot of people will hate, but unfortunately, I just had to make cuts. This is Hornet Queen, 4 and 3 green for a 2/2. It has Flying Death Touch. When it enters the battlefield, create 4 1/1 green insect creature tokens with flying. Obviously, that's really fun. This is really expensive, and unless I have a lot of other pieces on the board for what I'm trying to do with this deck, it didn't really do much for me in the sense of wanting to keep it.
Yeah, it's kind of a vanilla card for your deck, too, honestly. It does a lot, doesn't really help your strategy.
It's crazy that Hornet Queen is kind of like vanilla for some decks now.
I know.
Next up, we have Innocuous Researcher. This is 3 and a green for a 3/4. It has Parlay, which is fun sometimes. Whenever this attacks, each player reveals the top card of their library. For each non-land card revealed this way, you investigate. Then each player draws a card. It also says at the beginning of your end step, you may untap all lands you control. If you do, you can't cast spells until your next turn. I get it. This card's kind of cool. I'm also not a fan of helping my opponents, so I don't want you guys to draw cards. I only want to draw cards. But the second text is not fun for me whatsoever.
Yeah. I don't know about that card, dude.
I mean, I understand this card is wanting you to, use your mana to crack your clues and draw more cards. For the purpose of this deck, like, I don't know, man. I wasn't really a fan of this. Plus, it's 4 costs. It was just a little expensive for me.
I understand it, man.
Next up, we have another parlay card. This is Sylvala Explorer Return. This is 1 a green and a white for a 2/4 Elf Scout. It says you can tap it. Each player reveals the top card of their library. For each non-land card revealed this way, add a green, and you gain 1 life. Then each player draws a card. Don't want to be a group hug deck. So, bye-bye.
Yeah. All this everyone draw, dude. What the heck?
Yeah, this deck had a lot of everyone draw, and I was like, I don't know. Next up, we have Serene Sleuth. This is 1 and a white for a 2/2 human detective. When it ETBs, you get to investigate, which is fun. Deck likes doing that. It also says at the beginning of combat on your turn, investigate for each goaded creature you control. Then each creature you control is no longer goaded. It's not a lot of goading going around in this deck.
I was gonna say, I think that card I think is purposely in there for another card or like another deck in the cycle. Seems kind of weird and very oddly specific.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, it's a 2-mana 2-drop. It's a bear with a little extra text to help you investigate when it ETBs, but like it was the first cut I made. It was so easy. Next up, I got rid of the secondary commander. Oh no. So this is Sophia, Dog Detective. This is 1 a green, a white, and a blue for a 2/2 human detective. When she ETBs, you get to create Tiny, a legendary 2/2 green dog detective creature token with trample. You can pay 1, sacrifice an artifact token, put a +1/+1 counter on each dog you control. Whenever dog you control deals combat damage to a player, create a food token, then investigate. Not a lot of dogs in this deck.
I was gonna ask you that exact question. Like, I get it. This would be a cool card in a dog deck, but when this was spoiled, it was kind of like, wait, how many dogs are in this deck to make that relevant?
Pretty sure that's the only one. That's not even in the deck. It's got to be made.
Oh, it's funny. Well, Scooby Doo, you're getting out.
And lastly, I also got rid of Whirler Rogue. This is 2 and 2 blue for a 2/2. When this enters the battlefield, create 2 1/1 colorless stop your artifact creature tokens with flying. Then you can tap 2 untapped artifacts you control. Target creature can't be blocked this turn. So kind of a fun card, especially with Morska, being able to put 2 +1/+1 counters on it whenever you draw your second card each turn. So I kind of see why this card is added into the deck. Also, with the fact that this is just a token generating monster of a deck, and you're able to do a lot of cool things with those tokens because of the other cards that were added. I get it, but 4-drop, 2/2, I don't know. Just put a Rogue's Passage in there if you really want to go Voltron-y.
Yeah, makes sense. So those are the creatures you're cutting. How about some other non-creature spells?
Yep, so we'll start with some sorceries. I did cut Follow the Bodies. This is 2 in a blue. It has Gravestorm. If you don't know what Gravestorm is, it says when you cast a spell, copy it for each permanent put into a graveyard from the battlefield this turn. It also says investigate. So if a lot of stuff went into the graveyard, you could possibly investigate a lot.
Yeah, possibly, I guess, after a board wipe. But I mean, if you're the one initiating a board wipe and then casting this, you got a lot of mana.
Yeah, but I mean, like, they put Farewell in this deck, so,
Oh,
that's exile.
yeah, that doesn't work.
There's a couple destroy stuff, but, like, they're so expensive that it's almost pointless.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Speaking of super expensive, pointless destroy things, I got rid of Organic Extinction. This is 8 and 2 white. It also has Improvise. Your artifacts can help cast this spell. Each artifact you tap after you're done activating mana abilities pays for 1. And then after all that, it says destroy all non-artifact creatures. So this deck has a lot of non-artifact creatures. So yeah,
You don't want to destroy them, dude?
not really. Yeah, I mean, this deck does have, basically 2 board wipes, with me keeping like Fumigate and Farewell that came in the deck. I think that was enough. I've played enough games of Commander where we've, wiped the board like once every other turn, and it's annoying. So
Yeah. And with Tamio's journal, bro, you can just go and search up whatever you need.
pretty much. Those were the 2 sorceries I got rid of. I got rid of 1 instant. This is Confirm Suspicions. This is 3 and 2 blue. Counter target spell. And then you investigate 3 times. It's a lot of mana to counter a spell, number 1. I like the fact you can investigate 3 times, but with the amount of investigation support this deck has, I didn't care for this.
Yeah, it's understandable, bud. You did add 2 artifacts. Are you going to cut any artifacts to make room?
Oh, yes, sir. I went ahead and cut Magnifying Glass. This is 3 mana for an artifact. You can tap it for a colorless, or you can pay for tap it and investigate. Uh, this already had a bunch of artifacts that, help support with mana. I didn't want to pay 3 for this one. I like the fact that I can pay 4 to investigate, but I'm hoping I never get to the point where I'm so bored in the game that I have to do that.
Yeah, I I can hear that, dude.
And the last artifact I'm getting rid of here is going to be Ransom Note. This is one for an artifact clue. Actually, just fun enough. When Ransom Note enters the battlefield, you surveil 1, and you can pay 2, sack it, and choose 1. Cloak the top card of your library, goad target creature, draw a card. So, obviously, Sophia Dog Detective is out of the deck. We don't really care about goading. There you go.
You know what? This is actually hilarious. We are now 4 for 4. All 4 of us cut this card out, Steven.
Oh, it's actually pretty good.
Yeah. What about anything in the enchantment department? We cut anything?
Yep. So there were some pretty fun enchantments, but the one that, and this was a tough one. I'm not gonna lie to you. This is when I was like, I don't know about cutting. It got hard. But I did cut one enchantment. This is gonna be armed with proof. This is 2 and a white. When it enters the battlefield, you get to investigate twice, and then clues you control are equipment in addition to their other types, and have equipped creature gets +2/+0, and has equipped. Clues you control are equipment in addition to their other types, and have equipped creature gets +2/+0 and equipped 2. So I really do like this card because for 3 mana, you get to investigate twice. Your clues get to be equipments, and they give you some little buffs. But all the other enchantments do much better things. So this was a hard one, but this was also an easy one, I guess.
Well, the beauty of all this, Steven, is that if someone doesn't want to cut that out of theirs, like, hey, then don't. But in yours, you ultimately did, and I stand by you. All right, you added 4 lands. You got to make some rooms, right? So what are you cutting in lands?
Yep. So everyone knows me. I'm the guy that'll cut a land before I cut anything else. So I added 4 lands, but I got rid of 5. So I got rid of a basic plains, and then I also got rid of Sky Cloud Expanse. This is pay 1, tap it, add a white and a blue. So a little bit of a filter land here. But I also got rid of the 3 temples. So Temple of Enlightenment, Temple of Mystery, Temple of Plenty. They all enter the battlefield tapped. They only let you scry 1. The Temple of Enlightenment taps for a blue or a white. The Temple of Mystery, a green or a blue. And the Temple of Plenty, a green and a white. Main reason why I cut these, obviously, the other lands I added were way better. But the tap lands in the deck, you can cycle. So being able to cycle those cards, draw a card, really helps with our deck a lot. So yeah, I mean, even though I'm not a big fan of lands coming in tap, the ones in the deck are pretty decent for us. So I figured might as well keep those and get rid of these.
I hear that, dude. I literally am one that I try to cut the temples every time. I'm not a big fan of the temples at all. All right, man. And is that everything for your cuts?
That is everything for my cuts.
All right. Well, you were given a budget of $100 for this upgrade. What is the price?
Shane, for the first time in my $100 deck building days, I finally came under budget. I'm at $98.76 at the time of this recording. I did add a card into this deck that is from this set, so the pricing could fluctuate, but hopefully not that much.
Perfect. You did it, man. I'm proud of you.
Thank you. I'm proud of myself.
Before we end this video, do you have any closing thoughts about the deck?
Yeah, it was this one was an interesting one to build. Hunter likes us to do decks that we're not used to, so maybe it'll open our eyes on certain things. I was never really thrilled with this deck when it first came out. I was actually super excited for the Demir deck that Hunter got to upgrade. But I mean, to be honest with you, man, after doing some playtesting, building it, and this deck does something that I really like, and that's drawing a ton of cards. I always say card draw wins games. The token aspect of this and the huge creatures and tokens you can make in this are just insane. So it is a really fun deck, and obviously Simic is probably the best color combo behind Demir. And then just adding the white pip there is only going to make this better.
Steven, I do believe everyone here in the Magic community loves saying card draw wins games. I'm right there with you, bud. This deck looks fun. I am excited to play against it. Right on, man. Well, if you liked this video, Make sure you like it, and let's leave some feedback for Steven. Maybe drop him a comment. Is there a card he might have missed? Is there a card that he added that you weren't too stoked on? Leave him some feedback. We love reading it. Also, down in the description, you'll find a link to the Mox field. You will be able to see the deck list in its entirety. You can play test it, pick up some cards. Links in the description. Also, down in the description, you'll find a link to all of our social medias. That is TikTok, Twitter, and Instagram. It'll all just be @GuysThatMagic. While you're down there, you also might see a new link, and that is our Patreon link. If you're a big fan of what we're doing here and you want to give us a little extra support, check out the link. You could be one of the names on the screen at the moment. Big shout out to everyone that's on our Patreon. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any upcoming content. And until the next video, have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.
Bye.